Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Nur Ashrina binti Abdul Hamid. So today I will talk about the overflowing, the resolving energy storage crisis. Actually, this slide I prepared purposely for your competition which will be held next year. So I hope that this slide will be beneficial for you since I will explain a bit about the current situation, the importance of this field, which including the general outlook, okay, the current scenario of the electrochemical energy storage in Malaysia, and also what are the challenges associated with this field, and what are the exciting development that you can actually get from this electrochemical energy storage system. Okay, basically for the electrochemical energy storage and conversion system, we have the electrochemical capacitor can be divided into another three subsection, which is known as electric double layer capacitor, or you can also have a pseudo capacitor, or you can also have a hybrid capacitor. And for the electrochemical batteries, you can have either rechargeable or the flow batteries. I'm not sure whether you guys is aware about these three main categories of the electrochemical energy storage, but this is what we normally deal with. We every day we have the rechargeable batteries in our hand, for example, because these rechargeable batteries we use in our mobile phone. Okay, and for the flow batteries, most of the time we use the flow batteries, for example, associate with the maybe you won't use this for your daily life. Okay, for the flow batteries, most of the time only the rechargeable batteries that you use in everyday life. Okay, another one, you have a fuel cell. I hope that at least you know what is fuel cell, or you have heard about the fuel cell previously. Okay, for the fuel cell we have also the metal or air, and then we have a hydrogen. It has a different type of the fuel cell. Okay, I will explain later a bit about the different type of the fuel cell in the next slide. Okay, just for this one I want to show you the brief schematic diagram of what are the electrochemical energy that you have in the daily life, and you can adapt either in the mobile application or the stationary application or in the transportation. Okay, because different application you will have a different output for that. Okay, for example, the batteries, okay, and the fuel cell, we can also adapt this in the transportation or in the automobile because it has a high power and also high density output. Okay. Okay guys, before we go deep into the electrochemical energy storage, I would like to share with you what are the fundamental and the technical overview associated in the electrochemical, okay, especially for the electrochemistry. I know you've learned about the electrochemistry during your secondary school, okay, and you also learned during your first year in our school, okay. So, but just to refresh back what you have learned previously, what are the electrochemistry? So you know that the electrochemistry is a reaction, okay, is a chemical reaction that take place actually at the only at the interface of the electrode and the electrolyte. Okay, and these we use to study the conversion between the electrical energy and the chemical changes. Okay, so we have a movement of the electron, okay, in this chemical reaction between the interface and the electrode. Okay, and this actually generate, okay, the reaction generate the electricity from this chemical reaction. Okay, we have the negative electrode. Everybody knows about the negative and the positive electrode. Okay, because we have to know also when you want to assemble batteries for certain simple application, for example your wall watch, okay, or maybe a weighing machine or something similar to that, which is the typical application for your daily life. Okay, so the electrochemical energy storage system, normally we can separate into either converter or the storage. Okay, so if you can take a look at this diagram, you have the discharging power and energy density or energy capacity, and also the charging power. So when we discharge, so you will get the discharging power. Okay, it means that you discharge from the chemical energy. So the Ce actually denotes to the chemical energy. So you discharge from the chemical energy to the electrical energy. So you have the, in the middle here you have the chemical storage. Okay, and then from this chemical storage you can actually get the chemical or the electrical, you go to the chemical or electrical converter, and then you get the electrical energy. And then the first step is when you have the electrical or the chemical converter. So this converter will convert the chemical energy into the chemical storage. So the chemical storage will store the energy, okay, and then will release as electrical energy after it goes in towards or goes via the electrical converter or the chemical electrical converter. So this typical diagram is useful when we want to see or when we want to differentiate or to classify what type of the electrochemical that we want to use. Okay, we have, for example, here fuel cell, so which is convert from the from the chemical energy to the electrical energy. And then you have also the hydrogen storage here and the electrolyzer. So this electrolyzer and the hydrogen storage goes or falls under primary battery category. Okay, and these three, this step from the, you can see that from the electrical to the or the chemical converter and the chemical storage means that you convert from the chemical energy to the electrical energy by having the secondary battery. Okay, in this secondary battery also you will have a charging and discharging. So it means that during charging, okay, the energy conversion the energy conversion process for the secondary battery is always reversible. Okay, when you charge, it means that you convert the electrical energy into chemical energy, okay, which means that you store in the storage component. When you discharge, okay, so the chemical energy converts back the electrical into the electrical energy. Okay, and then it means that you can use the electrical energy in order to support the um, demand for your application. Okay, so the converter actually determine the charging and discharging power, and the storage component will determine the energy capacity of the system. So commonly we have the active material for the converter and storage that cannot be separated. Okay, for example, in the secondary electrochemical batteries. Okay, so that is the reason the power and the capacity cannot be designed independent of each other, means that is always interrelated to one to another. Okay, so I think that's all for the diagram. So this diagram is very useful when you want to know about what type of the reaction involved either in the secondary or in the primary or in the fuel cell. Okay, so what are the electrochemical energy storage that we have? Just now I already explained to you briefly during the schematic diagram in the second slide. Okay, so the most or the common one that we use every day or maybe in most of our application is the primary and the secondary battery. And then we also have a supercapacitor. I'm not really sure how frequent that you have uh, or you're using this supercapacitor. Okay, and then another one is the fuel cell. So this is a very good chance for you to get to know in depth what are the primary and the secondary battery, and what are the supercapacitor, and what is a fuel cell. Okay, maybe you have heard about it before about the supercapacitor and the fuel cell, but most probably you might not really know what is actually those two electrochemical energy storage. Okay, so this is one example of the primary batteries I took from the Google pictures. Okay, so you can see that this is super alkaline. Okay, and it can produce also 1.5 volt. Okay, so the primary batteries is actually been used or been invented like more than 100 years ago. Okay, so among all the existing design, the most common use is a zinc carbon, okay, which is used widely in 1940, also during the Second World War, and also the post-war period. Okay, so not only that they have the zinc carbon system, they also have another novel and superior types of battery. And the capacity you can see is a significant improvement from less than 50 up to more than 500 watt hour per kilogram. And they also increase the shelf life up to 10 years. Okay, for these typically zinc carbon batteries. Okay, and commonly they use the manganese oxide, okay, as the cathode material, because the cathode material for the zinc carbon usually utilize the metal oxide. Okay, and the electrolytes can either be aqueous or non-aqueous system. Okay, but that depends on the electrochemistry of the battery. Okay, we have a different as you can see from the second slide, there are different types of the primary batteries. Okay, it can either be like a zinc carbon and alkaline manganese dioxide batteries, okay, also known as a dry battery. Okay, it was first introduced by Li Chanlei, and it's become dominant design, okay, as a zinc carbon batteries. Okay, and then they also have like zinc air battery. Okay, so the zinc air utilize the oxygen from the air as the active cathode material, and so this oxygen diffuse through the cathode. So once the oxygen reach the cathode interface with the alkaline electrolyte, so it will be catalytically reduced. So the capacity of the zinc air cell is about twice of the dry cell with the same battery volume. Okay, so that's why this zinc air battery is more attractive, okay, as compared to the dry battery. But then it always depends on the type of application. Okay, and the button cell construction of the zinc air can have a capacity up to 600 milliampere per hour. Okay, and so means that you can have this battery in the continuous drain application. Okay, and then another one, you have the silver oxide battery. So this silver oxide battery they use in 1960, okay, to power up the pocket calculators, okay, hearing aids or the cameras or the glucometer. So the glucometer, which is commonly used by the diabetic person to check the glucose level in their blood. Okay, and then this zinc silver oxide battery has also several advantages. Okay, for example, they have a high capacity, steady discharge voltage, very good storage capacity retention. Okay, so you have to bear in your mind that a different classification of a primary battery will always give us different advantages and different disadvantages. Okay, that's the reason they have a various type of primary battery that can be suited into varied or wide application, either if you want to have it as a stationary or as a mobile application. Okay, so and then the third one, you can have like a magnesium manganese dioxide battery. Okay, this is a very um, high standard potential. Okay, and also used mostly in relation with the manganese. Okay, so this manganese is a very cheap. Okay, they can have and abundantly in the earth. Okay, so it's quite yeah, quite promising to use this magnesium manganese dioxide battery. And then they also have a lithium primary batteries, okay, which is first started in 1960, okay, and then concentrated on non-aqueous primary batteries, which using lithium as the anode. Okay, they use these especially in selected military application. Okay, so due to the cell design, formulation, and safety consideration, these lithium primary batteries can be uh, formed in different types of size and configuration. Okay, so this is all the task of the chemist and also the material scientist to figure out what kind of shapes that can be produced from this type of battery. Okay, and they also have a lithium sulfur dioxide batteries, which was the first commercialized type of lithium cells. Okay, and then we also have a lithium thionyl chloride batteries, okay, which has a very high energy density up to 600 watt hour per kilogram, and a very long service life up to 20 years. Okay, and it can also operate in an exceptionally wide temperature range, from negative 80 degrees Celsius to 150 degrees Celsius. Okay, means that you can have in different, if for example the application require robust and robust temperature, which means very low temperature or quite high temperature, moderate temperature, then you can use this lithium thionyl chloride batteries. Okay, and they also have a lithium manganese dioxide batteries, which is first commercialized since 1975. Okay, and they also have a lithium carbon monofluoride, and the recent one they uh, introduced the vanadium. Okay, either the vanadium pentoxide or the silver vanadium oxide for the lithium primary batteries. Okay, in order to enhance the shelf life, or they want to enhance the discharge capacity. Okay, so that's all for the primary batteries. Okay, now we're going to second types of a battery, which is a secondary battery. So secondary battery is also known as a rechargeable battery. Don't misunderstood between secondary and primary. Primary, most of the time, primary cannot be rechargeable. Okay, it means that only one time consume and then that's it. For a secondary battery, you can use up to so many times because you can recharge it back after it's finished. Okay, so actually the secondary battery is earlier introduced to the market as compared to the primary batteries, because as you can see from previous slide, this primary battery was invented like 100 years ago, but the secondary batteries was invented more than 150 years. Okay, so it means that the generation use this battery is like from 80 something up until now. Okay, late 80 something and until now. Okay, so the secondary battery, mostly commonly, or the first invented secondary battery is the lead acid battery. Okay, and the person who responsible to invent this type of battery is known as Plante, perhaps Plante. Okay, so and then later on, this nickel iron alkaline battery introduced again by Edison. Okay, the first one they introduced the lead acid, and then this Edison in 1908, he invented the nickel iron alkaline, and this uh, secondary battery was used as a power source for the early electric automobile. So previously they already have automobile generated by the electricity. Okay, by the way, this type of battery actually gradually lost its market, okay, due to the high cost, and then the maintenance that they require, and also it has actually a lower specific energy, so that's why it cannot meet the demand for the type of application at that time. Okay, and then after that they try to produce the pocket plate. Okay, the nickel cadmium battery, which is a pocket plate, so it's quite small. Okay, and this application they're used in the communication application, for example in the portable um, phone. Okay, in late 1950. Okay, and also due to the increase of the power capability and also energy density with this type of innovation. And then we also have a second one, which is the lead acid battery. Okay, just now I mentioned about the lead acid battery, which is the first type of secondary battery developed like more than 150 years ago. Okay, and this lead acid battery is widely used because of a very low price, good reliability, and it has also high voltage of the cell, like 2 volt. Okay, and it also has a high electrochemical effectivity and also long cycle life. Okay, so if without this, I don't think that this type of secondary batteries can be used up to 60%, because now actually this type of battery has been used widely about 60%. Okay, in the as an electrochemical energy source. Okay, and it's been used in a variety of application. Okay, because of the relatively lower specific energy. Okay, between 30 to 50 watt hour per kilogram. Okay, okay, so that is with the lead acid battery. And then we also have a nickel cadmium battery, and then we have a nickel metal hydride battery also, and the most known lithium ion battery. Okay, so the nickel cadmium battery actually belongs to the nickel rechargeable battery. Okay, because it is based on the nickel as a positive electrode. Okay, and then the cadmium, it has been used as the negative electrode. So later on, since this nickel cadmium battery also has some limitation, they invented the new one, which is not the really new one. They invented the lithium ion battery, which consists of the lithium. Okay, so lithium has been as a cathode, okay, and also the pure lithium as an anode. Okay, so this kind of development of the lithium ion battery actually started in not that old. It's quite recent, which is in 1970, which is I don't think you were born yet at that time, because I also haven't born yet at that time. So the lithium ion battery contains actually no metallic lithium, and therefore is much safer to recharge as compared to the primary lithium metal design of the cell. So these lithium ions actually they travel between anode and cathode, okay, during charge and discharge. So it is like a integrated and deintegrated. Okay, and it has been commercialized by Sony. Okay, um so the use of this lithium ion battery, as you guys know, in a very wide portable application. Okay, for example, in the notebook, in the handphone. Okay, so and there has been huge innovations since then, because they want to try to get a higher energy density. Okay, with a low weight, and then they want also to reduce the cost. Okay, and also to find out the safe um, portable battery that can be used in a wide application, for electronic application, for example. And currently they also have a rechargeable lithium sulfur. Okay, but it has a different chemistry mechanism from the lithium ion battery. So the sulfur cathode, okay, when you have the lithium ion battery, the cathode is the lithium, it might be the lithium cobalt, the earliest one, and then currently we have the lithium iron phosphate. And but for the lithium sulfur and the lithium air battery, they employ the sulfur as a cathode, okay, and also air as a cathode for the lithium air battery. It has a quite not really similar to the lithium ion batteries typical working principles. Okay, so it's good to know that actually the lithium sulfur currently has been used quite huge number. Okay, this is due to the high energy storage system. So remember the first time when in the earlier slide I mentioned that um, it has to be one energy converter, and also another one is an energy storage. So in order for you to have a long run or a long use of that type energy storage, you have to have like a huge energy storage, okay, so that it can capable to produce more electricity without interruption. Okay, so We have also other secondary batteries, for example, nickel hydrogen battery, silver zinc battery, okay, and also nickel zinc battery. And currently we also have like a stationary system, which is a flow battery, that based on the proton exchange membrane, okay, also known as a PEM. I think that's for the secondary battery, okay, and then we can continue to the ultra capacitor, or also known as a super capacitor. Okay, so the other things that you have to know about the secondary battery is that this process can be reversed for hundreds or even thousands of times. Okay, it depends on the cell, the lifetime of the cell. Okay, and it's also a fundamental advantage. Okay, since you can use up for more than thousand of times, okay, depending on the type of battery that you use. Also, on top of that, this battery also is a very environmental friendly. Okay, so it has environmental safety in terms of no um, carcinogenic, okay, and also there's no harmful metal that will be released. Okay, so that's all for the secondary battery. Okay. Okay, this is very important in order for you to differentiate between one type of battery to the other types. This is known as the battery attributes. Okay, the first thing you have to know is about the energy density. So this is all the terms that relate to the batteries. Okay, mostly the applicable for the primary and also the secondary battery. So energy density means that amount of energy that can be stored per unit mass or volume. So it means that how long you will have to recharge your laptop again before it's die. Okay, for example, and how long you can charge, or how long you can use your handphone after you charge. Okay, so that is known as the energy density. And then power density. Okay, power density is that the maximum rate of energy that discharge per unit mass of volume. So low power, for example, laptop, iPod, and then you have also high power, for example, the power tools. So you can actually identify what type of application that you want, and then you can design the battery according to the application. Okay, and the most important one is the safety. So at high temperature, everybody knows that at high temperature certain battery components will break down and can undergo exothermic reaction. This is actually very dangerous, because as a result it can cause a fire. Okay, so there is a case previous year, I forgot what year, that we have a lithium ion battery actually causing fire, if I'm not mistaken, in flight or something during transportation. Okay, so after that time they restrict the the person who travel with the lithium iron phosphate battery, because not lithium iron phosphate to be exact, but with the secondary battery, the lithium ion batteries, they said that can cause the fire. So person who travel with this lithium ion battery has to actually disassemble it, okay, in order not to make it or not to put um in the luggage section. It has to be to it has to be traveled in the separate. Okay, so it has some drawback for that, but currently the researcher, they try to invent the new type of a lithium ion battery that can be withstand and then that can actually combat the fire if exposed to the high temperature. Okay, and then the life. So how stable is the energy density and the power density? Okay, with the repeated cycling, means that if the battery can be recycled for more than 30 cycle and it can still produce the same discharge capacity, so it means that that battery is very stable. Okay, and also of course the cost. So the cost must have at least compatible with the other energy storage technologies, for example with the primary battery or with a supercapacitor or with a fuel cell, of course, because primary the battery is always comparable to the fuel cell. Okay, but there is some distinct difference between the battery and the fuel cell, which I will explain later in the fuel cell section. Okay, now we continue with the supercapacitor. What do you have to know about a supercapacitor? So this is one example of a supercapacitor that you can find. Okay, so a supercapacitor actually slightly differ from the battery. Okay, because it stores the energy by the charge separation, while for the battery, it stores the energy in terms of the chemical energy, okay, and then it change or convert to the chemical to the electrical energy. But for the supercapacitor, it store the energy by the charge separation. Okay, so the simplest capacitor actually store the energy in a thin layer of dielectric material. So I hope that everybody knows what is meant by the dielectric material. Okay, that's supported by the metal current collector. So actually, a supercapacitor has been used in order to bridge the function between the battery and the fuel cell. Because as you know, the supercapacitor show a unique bridging function for the power energy gap between traditional dielectric capacitor, okay, which have a high power output, whilst for the batteries and fuel cell have a high energy storage. So in order to cater these two, or the loop between those two, they have introduced the supercapacitor. So but you can, as you can see here, the earliest supercapacitor invented was in 1957. So at that time, Malaysia is just getting the independence, right? So in 1990 only, the supercapacitor being used in the hybrid electric vehicle or HEV. So the function of supercapacitor is actually to boost the battery or the fuel cell in HEV, okay, in order to cater the necessary power for the acceleration. Because if you want to use for the automobile, it has to give you the power for accelerating the vehicle. If it cannot give the power to accelerate the vehicles, then it will not be compatible, or it won't be as competitive to the current petrol based vehicles. Okay, so but still they have a further development, okay, for the electrochemical supercapacitor in order for to be used in a wide application. Okay, so currently US Department of Energy, okay, they design the electrochemical supercapacitor or a supercapacitor to be as important as batteries. Okay, so they recognize the supercapacitor to be one of the key energy storage comparable to the batteries in the future. Okay, so the energy storage in the supercapacitor is by the charge separation, as I said earlier. So there is some equation related with the capacitance in order to get the capacitance that can relate between the capacitance and also the voltage. Okay, um, also there are two distinctive type of supercapacitor, okay, known as the electrostatic or electrical double layer supercapacitor, or EDLS as a short form, and also another one is the Faraday supercapacitor, which is known as the FS. Okay, so that's about the supercapacitor. They also have some like a chemistry and material for supercapacitor. Okay, most of the time they use carbon, and nowadays in Malaysia we have also current research regarding the supercapacitor produced from the activated carbon. And this activated carbon we produce from the waste. Okay, for example, from the palm oil base, or from, for example, from the coconut husk, okay, or from the all the other biomass waste. Okay, they use this as a raw material to produce the activated carbon, and then this activated carbon was used as the material for the supercapacitor, because the carbon, you know, is a low cost, easy to process, and also non-toxic. Okay, and also it has a high surface area, and very good electronic conductivity, okay, and it can also be used in a wide operating temperature. Okay, so that's why most of the time now currently in Malaysia we also try to invest in looking the best way to get the carbon from nature. Okay, so that is about the supercapacitor. Okay, another type of energy storage known as a fuel cell. This is very commonly used also. Maybe in some automobile application. Okay, for example, Toyota and Honda, they already employ these fuel cells in their design, in engine design, and also in high-end automobile industry. For example, Mercedes-Benz or BMW, okay, and Volvo also. So what is a fuel cell? So it was invented in 1939 by Sir William Grove, okay, when he actually performed the first fuel cell experiment and device invented named as a gas voltaic battery. Okay, so the fuel cell is actually a device that designed to convert the energy of a chemical reaction. So this chemical reaction convert into the electrical energy directly. Okay, so the difference between fuel cell and other electrochemical power source, for example, primary and secondary, is when you have a fuel cell, you can use up as long as you have the gas supply, okay, or the liquid reactant supply, because the reactant can be supplied externally, okay, as compared to the battery. Once the reactant finish, and then so the battery is cannot be used anymore. But for the fuel cell, you can always use this fuel cell as long as you continuously feed the reactant. Okay, so after, okay, come back to the, you can read here the history of the fuel cell, which is after 100 years, another guy named Francis Thomas Bacon then developed the fuel cell. Okay, and then the first fuel cell used in the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Okay, because the main reason why they use this fuel cell capable to give them the energy when they are in space. Okay, so that's why they use this fuel cell. So as you can see here, I also write here about the difference between the fuel cell and the primary and the secondary battery. Okay, and so another difference criteria between fuel cell and the battery is that it is quite easy, okay, to get a continuous supply of the reactant, and also it has a continuous elimination of the reaction products to keep a long operation time. And the most important things that fuel cell will release no greenhouse gases to the environment. So it's very environmental friendly. And these fuel cells also are named because possible reactant, okay, of the fuel can either be from the natural gas or the petroleum products or hydrogen or the water. But you have to remember that we were facing now depleting in the fossil fuel, so we have to minimize the use of the fossil fuel. So we can also opt to the hydrogen or the water gas, which we can synthesize it by using the electrolysis. It means that you only use the water to get the hydrogen or to get the water gas. Okay, so the biggest advantage of this is, of course, the electrical energies comes directly from the fuel cell. Okay, and there are also no combustion, okay, in the fuel cell, so we have no worries about any carbon dioxide or sulfur dioxide or any other particulate matter. Okay, and also why most of the automobile industries currently employ this type of fuel cell in their design, because it is also a very good energy efficiency, and it's also not that heavy, lightweight, and silent operation. Means that it's not that noisy, and also it can provide free vibrations during operation. Okay, so that is some of the few things which is important for you to know about the fuel cell. Okay, there are actually many types of the fuel cell available. Okay, mainly based on the types and the characteristic of the electrolytes and the operation temperature. Because for the fuel cell, the operating temperature can be varied. For example, if you have like a low temperature, you can use the PEM fuel cell, also known as a polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cell. In our school, we also have Prof. Latif, who working with this type of the fuel cell. It's not really directly fuel cell, but he's actually doing conducted some research regarding the electrolyte membrane. Okay, and also we have the direct methanol fuel cell. This is also operated at a low temperature. And we also have phosphoric acid fuel cell and molten carbonate fuel cell, and of course the high temperature solid oxide fuel cell. So I am the one who's working with the solid oxide fuel cell. So this solid oxide fuel cell is a very robust. You can use up to the temperature maximum 1000 degree, and this type of fuel cell has been used as one of the power source in the residential area in Japan. Okay, they commercialize this as a main power supply in the residential area in one of the city. Also, Indonesia also is a very rigorous about this type of fuel cell. They also employ this type of fuel cell in generating the energy to supply, especially for to the suburban area. Okay, so for the fundamentals of the fuel cell, it will consume sometimes if I want to explain about the fundamentals of the fuel cell. But basically, it has like a same electrode, positive and negative, and then it has to be some separator to separate the electrolyte and the electrode. Okay, and then it has also both sides. One fuel and another one is the air. Okay, so it has also anode and cathode, so it's the same like a battery, except that it can generate the electrical energy directly. Okay, it's not stored, because for the batteries you store the chemical energy, but for the fuel cell you are not storing the chemical energy, but you directly convert the chemical reaction into the electrical energy. It means it's quite fast as compared to the process operating principles for the batteries. Okay, um, so the difference type between the fuel cell is very interesting. Okay, so it's one of the interesting energies, electrochemical energy device, and also electrochemical energy storage that can be used in future in Malaysia. Okay, so that's all for the fuel cell. Okay, this figure shows you about the difference between the fuel cells, batteries, and supercapacitors. So the battery can either be the secondary battery or the primary battery, and also the electrostatic capacitor. Okay, so as you can see here that the fuel cell has the highest specific energy, while actually suffer from the specific power. So as it goes up, okay, from the electrostatic capacitors up to the fuel cell, you also increase the specific energy, but actually you decreasing the specific power. What is the main importance things that you can get from this figure is that is quite obvious to note that the electrostatic capacitor is also considered as a high power density device, okay, but very short charge discharge time, okay, in the order perhaps in seconds, okay, which is quite difficult to achieve by other electrochemical energy storage and conversion devices, for example fuel cells and the batteries. Okay, so this comparison also show you the delivery time scale, okay, for the different energy storage and conversion from fuel cells to the electrochemicals, electrostatic capacitor, sorry. So currently none of these device, okay, from either fuel cell or the batteries or the supercapacitor, capable to meet the wide spectrum of requirement, okay, that actually demand by the different or diverse range of the renewable energy sources. For example, wind, okay, or solar, okay, because now solar in Malaysia also widely being used in the residential area as well as the in the commercial area, okay. But however, we can of course try to broad the requirement, such as for example the fast charge and discharge, and also the peak power demands and the high energy storage, okay, by perhaps combine between the materials, or by altering the materials used in this either the fuel cell or the electrostatic capacitors, okay. Okay, so now we want to see what are the challenges in the electrochemical storage system, or the ESS, okay, electrochemical storage system. So according to the energy level, okay, the application of the EES can divided into either mobile electronics or the transportation, and also stationary. But in this case, we will only touch about the mobile electronics and the transportation. However, not to forget, the cost and the performance are also the main challenge for all these EES applications. As I showed previously, um, the power and density and also the cost, okay, is always related to the to one another, and also to how we can actually commercialize this ESS, okay, where the requirement for the performance vary with different application, okay. And also not to forget that when you want to implement this ESS, especially in any other country, they always have to go towards different legislation and also different regulation. So depends on that country, mostly in Europe. For example, in Germany, they have been used a lot of ESS in their residential as well as in the commercial area, as well as in US, okay, and also in Japan, as for Asian country. So they are also another country that follows the rules, okay, and most of the developed country, they already has established kind of type of the smart grid, also known as a smart grid, that employ between the renewable energy together with the energy storage system, okay. So they have a very efficient energy grid. So for example, when you want to employ the ESS or the battery to be specific in your mobile electronic, it has to meet the requirement of that application, okay. For example, the mobile electronics require an energy range between 10 to 100 watt hour, okay. So in order to be more convenient and appealing, so this mobile electronic should be smaller and lighter. Who wants to carry a heavier and bigger, bulky mobile electronics, right? Nobody wants to carry that. But before, previously, during I think around 1980 or 1990 something, one telecommunication brand which is known as Nokia and Motorola at that time, they are very famous with their mobile phone. Okay, they have like a very bulky phone. And then after that, we have a new innovation which is very small, lightweight, and also very thin handphone. But I would prefer to have that not that bulky, but at least it's easy for us to carry, because when it's too thin, sometimes it may slip and it's also quite dangerous also, I think, for me. Okay, from my opinion. So okay, which is particularly requirement for the energy density, okay, in addition to high power density, of course long cycle life and a good safety. So that's the reason commercial lithium ion batteries are available with these three classes of cathode material, either lithiated layered transition metal dioxide, or the lithiated transition metal spinel oxide, and also the lithium metal phosphate. if you just to inform you guys that how we name the lithium ion batteries commonly based on the type of that electrode used in that battery system. Okay, for example, for the lithium metal phosphate, this is known as the lithium iron phosphate. Okay, so they employ the lithium and iron as the metal and then phosphate. So that is a lithium metal phosphate. And most iPhone and Samsung or the other brand was, of mobile phone also use this type of lithium ion batteries to give the or to power their mobile phone. Okay. How about the challenges of the ESS in transportation? For the transportation, also the cost will be the major criteria. Okay, and of not to forget the performance is the main or the two key challenges for the transportation batteries. Okay, so for the cost, of course, the battery cells, the battery management, and the packing material. So this is how we calculate the cost for the battery, and the performance is always related to the usable energy density, of course, the power density and the cycle life, and also how robust the battery is can be that can be suited into the different application, different use of automobile. Okay, because if you want to use, for example, for the hybrid electric vehicles, you have to have a certain range of the power density and energy density. Okay, however, when we use this type of the sources to power our vehicles, means that we actually reduce the dependency of the liquid fuels, and of course, we combat the CO2 emissions in from the transportation. Okay, so normally if we have like a mid-size range of a vehicles commonly require around 20 to 90 kilowatt hour energy range. Okay, but that depends on the type of your vehicle. So this also one of the major contribution that actually delay the commercialization of the battery in the transportation. Okay, so I currently only Toyota and then General Motor and also Nissan that deploy this type of lithium ion as a battery in the HEV vehicles. Okay, so there is also another things that require, of course, the energy density and the power density that also play a huge role in determining whether the battery can be successfully implemented in the transportation or not. So that's a task of the researcher to invent a very suitable range with a m with a not so expensive, okay, with affordable costs and also very good performance. Okay. Okay, so this slide is actually showing to you how the future of ESS. Okay, this is a worldwide scenario, not in the Malaysia only. Okay, so this is in the worldwide. So they're targeted that at least, as you can see, that the use of the fossil fuel, okay, will be decreased, okay, but the use of the renewables will be increased, okay, and also they will be enhanced in the network, which is the smart grid, okay, and then we have the battery storage. So the battery will be one of the major um, energy supply that actually captured the energy produced from the renewable sources and then kept store it, and then there can be implemented together with the smart grid in order to power up all the residential and the commercial how area in the country. Okay, this if this is happen, it will be very good opportunity in combating uh, the huge emission of a CO2 to the environment. Okay. So as you can see, they targeted that around 2025 to 2030, there will be a significant number of the battery storage being used, okay, in every country at least. Okay, so every country must play uh, their own role in order to combat the release of the CO2 to the environment. Okay, so that's why they have to use the ESS together with the renewable energies. If you only produce the energy without capturing and storing it, then it won't be so efficient. Okay, so that's the reason you have to have the electrochemical energy storage system. Okay, I managed to get some latest scenario about the ESS in Malaysia. Okay, which is you can see from the right hand side the battery that commonly sold by IKEA. Okay, the alkaline battery sold by IKEA. Actually, Malaysia, they plan to become a regional hub for the production of lithium-ion batteries. Okay, they want to produce the lithium. Currently, in Asia Pac, none of Asian country produce the lithium-ion batteries. So Malaysia want to be the first who has the factory producing these lithium-ion batteries. And this production of the lithium-ion batteries, they targeted not for automotive application only, but it will cater also the other application. So it will be a huge plan for a lithium-ion batteries plant. Okay, so the plant either to be located in Selangor or Negeri Sembilan, which is this is the news that I get in 2019. So now it's 2020, but because of the pandemic COVID, so things might have differ from the plan. So I have no idea what is the current situation for this plan. Okay, so this news I get from the Malaysia Automotive Robotics and IoT Institute, also known as AMARI. Okay, so the energy efficient vehicles (EEV) penetration in Malaysia expected to reach at least 70% in 2019. So for 2020, I have not yet found any data yet, any data that can relate to the penetration of this EEV in Malaysia. So perhaps, I don't know, due to the current scenario, it may decrease a bit, okay, due to the decrease in the demand. So, but we will see, maybe it will have some increase in 2021. Okay, and another one, IKEA. Okay, they think that when they sold this alkaline battery, they are not really doing the sustainability. So they're not really promoting sustainable in the in their customers, okay, to their customers. So that's why they will phase out all this alkaline battery, okay, by October next year. So next year when you go to the IKEA, you cannot buy this battery anymore because they already stop producing it, okay, and they will not sell it to the customer anymore because they want to promote the sustainability practice. And also in IKEA, if you notice that if you when you go to IKEA, they use the recycled water from the rainwater to use as a flush in the flushing system in their toilet. Okay, so it's one of a very good initiative done by IKEA in order to reduce the use of the clean water. Okay, so it's very good effort then. So that's all that I can actually um, deliver to you with whatever um, scope given to me, and I'm really thank you to the team and of course to Li Ying to be specifically because giving me a chance to share with you guys about this electrochemical energy storage system and conversion. Okay, I hope that with this all information and a slight briefing about type of a different type of energy electrochemical energy devices will give you some useful information for your upcoming competition, which is next year, right? So good luck, and if any of you like to be part of my team in developing the solid oxide fuel cell, you are welcome to join my team when you're graduated. So if you want to continue your master studies or your PhD studies, you can just let me know, okay, so that we can work together to produce a better energy storage for the country. Okay, so thank you again, and all the best for your future and also for your competition. Okay, bye.